And now we're getting back into it. But how should the conversation be conducted? And what should Keir Starmer do differently? 0345 6060 973 is the number you need. Peter is in Sunderland. Peter, how are you?
Hi, James.
Hello.
I'm actually in Barrow-on-Trent. I don't know what Sunderland.
You must have been in Sunderland last time you rang me.
I was.
There it is.
I was.
So adjust the record. Let the record show. Peter is in Burton-upon-Trent. Is it Burton-upon-Trent or Burton-on-Trent?
I've been here 10 years and I don't really know.
That's the thing. You've driven past. How many times have you driven past that sign? I bet you don't even know who it's twinned with, do you?
God, everyone around is going to hate me now, James.
That's it. You've ruined your Burton credentials. But that's not why you rang in. For people who don't know, you are either the organiser or a key organiser of the regular Rejoin marches, the National Rejoin March. So there's no doubting what side of this conversation you're on. But what are your answers to the questions I've been asking?
Thanks, James. My answers to the questions are, first of all, I'm going to say no, Starmer shouldn't get up in front of British people and just tell the truth about Brexit.
Okay.
The reason is, they're irrelevant. We are where we are right now as a country, and so much stuff in our country that needs fixing, from housing to the NHS to roads.
Prisons. I'm just going to. I think your phone line's gone a bit funny, Pete. Just on the little clicky there. So we'll try and improve that and get back to you shortly. And it is the job of the Prime Minister, the first Prime Minister we've had who is not handcuffed to the millstone of Brexit, even as the ship begins to sink. He could actually do something about it, but he isn't. And Peter is persuaded that he shouldn't, at least not in the way that some of us think. And Peter's qualifications in this field are pretty impressive as the organiser of the National Rejoin March, which will be coming to London the weekend after this one, I think, just under 2 weeks. Peter, where were we? Apart from Burton, up on Trent. I
was hoping you were going to bring that back up, and I got away with it. Never mind. So like I was saying, we know all the problems that we've got in this country.
Well, you do, and I do.
Well, a lot of people, like on the ground, we see it with our own eyes. We live it every day, you know.
Yeah.
So we do see it, and what Starmer needs to do, in my opinion, is say, so this is where we are. So we want all of these things improving. We've kind of got a plan how to improve them all, but it all costs money. So where are we going to get that money from? We can put your taxes up. We can take other stuff away from you to use that money to pay for it. Or we could do something that might improve the economy between 5 and 8% and almost overnight bring investment to the country, which means more tax money, which means more money to spend on the stuff we need to do to improve. And that is to apply to rejoin the EU. Or at the very least, right now, if it's possible, which I'm not sure it is, go for just single market access maybe. But that's what he needs to do, in my opinion. Stop looking backwards. There's just no point anymore. You know, I've loved listening to you this morning already, James. Right, and it brought back lots of memories.
Same.
And I think you need to carry on talking about it, because if you're not, frankly, a lot of the time, it is in the media at the moment.
I'm enjoying this one more than the last couple of times, but I do think you're wrong, and I think you know you're wrong. You just don't realise it yet. Oh, so this is like the old days, isn't it? Except I'm talking to a Remainer.
For the wrong reasons,
I'm talking to a rejoiner, and I'm using the language of the good old days, the good old gammon days.
Because you call me gammon?
No, I said the good old gammon days. Because you've done it yourself. You've sort of said that he has to establish the need for fiscal improvement. You can't establish the need for fiscal improvement without detailing the fiscal decline. You can't tell people that this is going to raise 5 to 8% more without explaining how we lost it.
So what you're saying is we should have a Brexit assessment before doing what I think.
Yeah. This is what Vikram suggested, a public inquiry. I don't know what you'd call it, but and the problem is that would involve, you'd need to find, and I don't know if there are any. Can you think of a famous Brexiter who has said sorry yet? Can you think of one? Because you'd need to have, if there is such a thing, you'd need to have an intelligent famous
There
Brexiter.
are. This is what I always say, the difference between what I see as the Rejoin campaign and Remain is the main difference is we do have people who voted to leave supporting us.
But not
Rejoin.
Prominent campaigners.
No, not prominent campaigners,
because they've got shame and pride. They've got shame and pride attached to it. So, but I'm just thinking about the persuadables.
There's Peter Bone, isn't he one who voted to leave and is quite vocal about being wrong? Is it Peter Bone? I've probably got that name wrong.
I think you might have got that one.
Ignore me.
I mean, there is someone called Peter Bone, and he certainly was an MP. I haven't checked whether he retained his seat at the last election.
No, he wasn't an MP. He was a journalist, I think.
Oh, well, it's not him then. It's not him that you're thinking of.
I've got the name wrong.
Sorry. Don't worry. That's all right. But what I'm talking about is trust in the inquiry. So you're going to have the usual liars shouting at it and accusing it.
I think the inquiry is almost pointless and, to me, waste time. We know it's hurt the economy. We see it with our own eyes, like you were saying before. Every time we go shopping and look at the shelves, we can see the effects of Brexit.
No, that's not true. Here's a picture of a supermarket in Swansea that's got loads and loads of food in it. That proves you're lying.
Yeah, well, maybe them people don't go shopping themselves every week, and cushions.
Is it Pete? Are you thinking of Oborne? You're thinking of my mate Peter Oborne, I think, aren't you?
Yes. I am. And
Peter, a wonderful journalist. Wonderful, right? Well, actually, so you bloody well should. That's quite insulting to call anybody Peter Bone.
It really is.
Possibly even Peter Bone would be insulted at being called Peter Bone. I know I would be if I was Peter Bone. But Peter Oborne is a very different kettle of fish, and has changed his mind about lots of things in recent years, and articulated his reasons for doing so quite beautifully. But he wasn't a prominent Brexit campaigner. I think he was probably working at the Spectator at the time, which very Brexit adjacent, but not someone whose name springs immediately to mind when you think of the people who told us that we would now be living in a country with no immigrants, for example, if that was the thing that floated your boat, or no waiting lists on the NHS, if that was the thing that floated your boat, or more money in your pocket and cheaper clothes, if that was the thing that floated you. Oh, look, here's Victoria in Glasgow. I actually listened to an interview that you did with Jacob Rees-Mogg the other night on YouTube, James. To hear that imbecile go on about cheaper food and clothes and shoes really got my goat. Yeah, I do remember that interview. It was a very illustrative moment in Brexit, because he was a prominent Brexiter, the former MP, Jacob Rees-Mogg, and founder, I think, of a failed hedge fund as well, although he made a ton of money out of it before it failed. He was a very good example of someone who could say stuff. He could say all that stuff. It's worth looking at that interview on YouTube. And certainly last time I saw it a few years ago, some of the comments underneath were siding with him, because you could say all that then. You could say, cheap shoes for peasants. Or you could say food will be cheaper, fuel will be cheaper, waiting lists will be short. You could say all of these things. But the question was, and you could then explain why that wasn't true, but you couldn't prove it because you didn't have a crystal ball. It should have been better conducted in the media, that conversation, but for reasons that Emily Maitlis can explain a lot better than I can, right up to the BBC, they used to think, and in some ways still do, that if you've got 100 astronomers explaining what the moon is made of, sitting on that side of the debate, and one astronomer on that side of the debate who insists it's made of cream cheese, then you have to book one of the 100 who insists that the moon is made of moon, and then the only astronomer in the universe who thinks that the moon is made of cheese. And you invite them both onto Newsnight, and you have a debate as if they're equal and opposite forces, as if they are both authoritative forces with an equal chance of being right. Emily calls it the Minford paradigm, because the economist who was the fiscal equivalent of the astronomer who believes that the moon is made of cheese was called Minford, Patrick Minford. And if you were working at the BBC at the time, you'd have 1 million economists who could explain to you why it was a really bad idea, and one who thought it was a great idea. And you'd have to book them both. And you'd sit there and go, oh, well, thank you very much. And you, of course, disagree. And this back to anecdote time, aren't we? The moment for me that encapsulated this most. I'll tell you in a minute, because I just want to check with Peter. When's the next march, Peter, and how's it looking?
It's a week. No, it's Saturday the 28th of September. I'm just going to say the date instead of trying to count days. So it's
that's a week on Saturday, you prune.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
You're the bloody organiser. You're the organiser. It should be tattooed to the inside of your eyelids.
I know when it is. I just didn't know how many days away we are. But yeah, Saturday the 28th September, meet us all at Park Lane by the Hilton Hotel. We're going to march straight through London onto Parliament Square. We've got some wicked speakers who are going to convince you that Rejoin is the way forward.
What is the purpose? Because it's not going to make any difference tomorrow, is it? We're not going to wake up on the 29th or the 30th of September and the political debate will have changed. But you are keeping the flame alive, aren't you?
Yeah, we really have to. But the purpose really is to get media attention and the politicians' attention, because they are still, all of them, a lot of the media and almost all politicians, although the Greens and Lib Dems have spoken about it last week or two. We just need them to start talking about this, and not just about, like I said before, not just about what went wrong with Brexit, etc., because it's the past and we can't change the past, but what we can do is change the future. And that's what we need to do. And I know there's lots of people, especially activist campaigners, who are burnt out because of the election we've just had. And frankly, 14 years of horrific government. But we can't stop now. I need everyone to be there. Even if you're burnt, I'm burnt out. But
no, I admire your. I salute, at risk of going a bit George Galloway, I salute your indefatigability. I really do, and you are doing important work, and you are keeping a flame alive, a flame that has come perilously close in recent years, certainly on this programme, to being snuffed out. But you can't snuff it out because reality keeps coming back with a little sort of blast of oxygen to revivify the flame. And today's little oxygen hit is the study from Aston University Business School showing that UK goods exports to the EU is down 27%, and traffic in the other direction, the stuff coming in, is down by 32%. And crucially, it's all about to get worse. And you go back to January of this year, and another report suggested that by 2035, that's not that far away, by the way. It's 11 years away in old money. That's maths, that is. By 2035, the hit to the British economy caused by the self-inflicted damage done to our trade will stand at a whopping £311 billion. I'm not pausing for effect. I'm just swallowing.